Okay, President Paoli, we are on YouTube rolling.
Okay, so we will call the meeting to order.
Hold on. We're not exactly at 6 yet. I've got 5:59.
That's what I was going to release, that we'll wait till 6 p.m. Okay, so I will call the meeting to order. This is a special meeting at 6 p.m. And I want to remind everyone that we are authorized by the Governor's Emergency Executive Order issued on March 12th that Fort Bragg Unified School District Board of Trustees will conduct the Board of Education meetings via video conference, which is live streamed on YouTube. And until further notice, members of the public who wish to address the board during the board meeting are asked to please submit prior to the start of the meeting by emailing boardmeeting@fbusd.us. Staff will make all attempts to share and record any submissions received prior to or during the meeting. And normally we keep comments to 3 minutes and 20 minutes per topic. But I think that we'll discuss that if we want to keep that guideline for this meeting. And if you needed prior translation, that's 72 hours notice in advance. So I also wanted to start a new tradition. We're going to remind everyone about our vision and mission and what that is for Fort Bragg Unified. And the vision is every student receives engaging and challenging learning experiences to reach their greatest potential and thrive in a diverse global society. And mission is Fort Bragg Unified delivers exceptional, engaging, equitable, and collaborative learning opportunities for all students. And I also wanted to say that there was closed session, there was nothing to report out on. So our next item is 3.2, approval of agenda. Does anyone have any changes? Or we can move anything. Would anyone object if I move the proposed state and county advocacy letter up to 4.1? Do you have, is there any objection to that? Becky?
No, it's your agenda, it's your meeting.
It's our meeting, I'm presiding. Okay.
I would just say that there's lots of people going to be watching for the current 4.1, 4.2, 4.3. So if you feel that your state advocacy letter is something that should be discussed before those, but if it's not, then I would hold it off to the end.
Are there any other board members that, do you care? Do you want to leave it the same? I just felt like that the letter, well, we can save it to the end if we'll keep. May I have a motion to approve?
I'll move we approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
And I'll second, but also Connie is put in the chat that she can't hear.
I'm addressing Connie.
Okay.
Okay. So Mary was the motion, Kathy?
And I second, yes.
Okay, very good. So moved as presented. So before I read public participation on agenda items, I'd like to say the following public comments following public comments had been received from the district using the public comment email address. For ease of public participation, it will be read into the record by a district employee. This should not be construed as an endorsement of this comment by the district or as the position of the district. So 3.3 is public participation on agenda items, and we can only hear public participation on the action items for this special meeting. So may I ask Renee, do we have all the public comments in the drive?
Yes, we do. There are no additional public comments.
Okay. So, board, do we want to go ahead and go through, I think there's 10 or 11, and not be bound by the 20% or 20%, the 20 minutes cap? Is everyone comfortable with that?
Are you talking about the letter from the parents?
Yes.
A lot of those letters were already read at one of our previous meetings. Some of the dates go back to November.
So, Jerry, it's not those. We have a document that's just for public participation tonight. We keep a file for the whole thing to document public participation, but we have a file just for tonight.
Okay, well, if they're new letters that haven't been read, then I would suggest we do read them.
Okay. And Mary, would you like to just go back and forth?
Sure.
Okay. So very good. So do we need to read them in the order received, or does it matter?
I don't think it matters.
Okay. So I will read the first one starting at the top, Mary, and then we'll just rotate back and forth.
Okay.
So the first letter is from a parent, Terry Curdi. Dear Board of Trustees, I'm writing to you as a very concerned parent of a Fort Bragg high school student. I am so worried that if we do not reopen as soon as possible, we will miss our window. Our teachers, administration, office staff, custodians have all been vaccinated. If we wait until February 22nd, 2021 to open up the lower grades, I'm very worried that we will miss our opportunity once again. I know we will have to wait for the high school to be in the red tier for them to open, but we have to open. I pray we do not wait any longer to make this move and open up the lower grade levels. Our students' mental health and well-being have to come first this far into the game. And as you all know, these past 11 months have tried every parent, teacher, and student to the brink of exhaustion and frustration. Their mental health, their go-to attitude is gone. The motivation to keep good grades is not as it once was, with no sports or clubs to look forward to. No one can honestly tell me they feel that the students are better at home and thriving with no real one-on-one interaction with their teachers, counselors, and coaches. No one can tell me this is fair to our seniors who have missed the most important part of their final days at as a high school student. We have to think of them and what is best for our students. We have read the reports and we know the risks. Those that feel they need to continue with remote learning should do so, but those that want to go back should have that choice. I know how hard our district has worked to get everything ready for the staff, teachers, and students safely. So please take into consideration to open as soon as possible, even if it's just 2 grades before the break. Thank you for your time, taking my concerns into consideration. Sincerely, Terry Curdi.
Okay, the next letter is dated today's date, February 8th, and it's from Monique Wooden. Good evening, members of the board and Superintendent Walker. I am writing this letter in response to the new A group, B group schedule. Excuse me. The plan is to send a group on Monday and Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. and then send the group home for 1 hour of asynchronous learning in order for the students to complete a 4-hour school day. Group A will do online learning Thursday and Friday. Group B will do the same in-person schedule Thursday, Friday, with their online learning days being Monday and Tuesday. All children will be online Wednesday. The last 1 hour of online learning, regardless of the day, will be dedicated to small groups who need extra support or intervention. Most teachers have been doing this or some form of small group learning all year. For both groups, regardless of the day, if your teacher is out for the day, then the child will stay home for asynchronous learning. While COVID has changed the way we all do many things in life, some things have not changed. Children still need consistency, routine, and proper nutrition for their minds and bodies. I personally do not understand why both groups will not attend a full day, 8:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. on their designated days. The last proposal had the children attending 5 days a week, 2 hours a day, for a total of 10 hours per week. This new schedule only gives the kids 2 days a week for a total of 6 hours. With all the precautions in place, and now the teachers will have had their second dose of the vaccine, I'm struggling to understand why there is less in-person instruction than planned this time around instead of more. At the very least, I would propose that both Group A and B attended each of their 2 days for the full 4 hours at school from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. with no online learning for those 2 days. All our students' bodies and eyes need a break from the computer. I have had many families tell me that their children's eyes are hurting and that they are getting headaches on a weekly basis. Elementary children should not have chronic headaches. I implore you to give them 2 full days away from the online learning world. Also, let us be realistic about how many families are going to rush home to complete 1 more hour of asynchronous work, especially if that requires them to go back online. Most families are going to be rushing to get the children fed as there is no snack time in the plan. FBUSD went from serving children breakfast in the classroom, it is proven that children need proper nutrition to learn, to not even allowing a snack time in this plan. I really am struggling with this one. If I am a 6-year-old sitting at my desk, I cannot concentrate if my tummy is rumbling after 2 or 3 hours and I am not capable of staying engaged for more than several minutes at a time anyway. If all children are 6 feet apart, all COVID safety protocols are being followed, and the teachers have been vaccinated, why not let the children take off their masks and eat? After all, we are only talking about 10 to 12 children in the classroom to begin with. If it is nice outside, take them outside to eat. If it is raining, let the class unmask and eat a few at a time. The online classrooms that have been running since the beginning of the school year are feeding the children breakfast and snack every day, which is being provided by the school, and they are there for 4 hours. I think it is absolutely ridiculous that part of the plan is that when your child's teacher is out for the day, the child will stay home and do asynchronous work. This means my child should be able to go to school on 2 days, but I may be told that, nope, not today because the teacher is out. Children need routines and schedules, and so do their parents. Every parent is already struggling to figure out how they can balance work and online learning. Now, if I am the parent and I am lucky enough to have my employer work with me on yet another schedule, I still might not be able to guarantee them 2 days because my child's teacher may be out. We all know this transition is going to be filled with emotions and anxiety. The very least FBUSD should do is offer a consistent schedule for the children. If a teacher is out, then a sub or an aide or an administrator should lead the class that day. All teachers should have a substitute plan, and more times than not, the aide in the classroom knows the daily schedule fairly well. From experience, we know that there are going to be days when the teachers will be absent, and we have already had to deal with unscheduled asynchronous learning when a teacher is gone and unable to meet online. I could give many examples of this, but that would take away from the focus of this letter, and my focus is firmly rooted in the best interest of the children. So please do not propose more asynchronous learning on any of the days that are supposed to be my child's day attending school. In conclusion, what I am proposing is for a total of 8 hours of in-person learning, 2 4-hour days. This proposal would give both children and parents a more stable and easy to follow schedule and routine. Put simply, in-person days are simply that, all in person, and online days are all online. This really does not seem like too much to ask. The bottom line is that any schedule should be made with the best interest of the students the schedule was created to serve. The schedule, as it was proposed in the letter that went home, is not a schedule that is in the best interest of the children. I thank you for your time. Kind regards, Monique Wooden.
The next letter is from Rhonda Wasco, dated today. Mrs. Walker and respected board members, I would like to express my pleasure with the current reopening plan that is being addressed tonight. I feel we did our students a disservice by missing our November opening deadline, and I was a parent that barked at that plan. Had we pushed to open in November, as Ms. Walker was trying to convey, we could have had our schools open and been able to resume some sort of normalcy, but we didn't, and here we are again. Schools who did open in November, Placer County, for example, are back to school 5 days a week, including high schools who are back 5 days a week from 7:40 to 12:40 and have had no increase in COVID outbreaks from schools opening. These schools only have a 4 feet social distancing requirement, not the 6 feet we have in place. So if they can safely go back to school in a much bigger population, why can't we? I will also remind everyone that private schools have never closed and have been providing in-school education the entire school year. However, we are not Placer County or a private school, so I regress. At this point, we need to jump on any opportunity we have to reopen at whatever level. As we learn from not opening in November, that at any moment, the executive order can change again. And until we reopen, we might be prevented from opening at all. We currently have staff who are willing to come back to teach and families who want their students to come back to school. The district has also done an amazing job at providing a safety net for teachers and students who are not quite ready to go back full-time by offering a distant learning platform. I feel this serves our community as a whole well, and parents and teachers can find what is right for them. As one thing we have definitely learned together is COVID is not a one-size-fits-all pandemic, and there are many different levels of opinions and safety that families feel. To me, this is a win-win solution, and although we all want the school to open fully with a full schedule, that just can't happen until under the current executive order. I just wanted to take a moment to share my approval to the board of this current plan. Having a high school student, I was really hoping for some movement there, but the current executive order does not allow us to open since we didn't open in November. Now I can understand why Mrs. Walker was trying to push for that November opening, even though at that time I was against the suggested model. Hindsight is 2020, and I hope we don't make the same mistake again. Thank you for your time. I know it has been exhausting to keep up with the current executive orders, health orders, community response, and I appreciate all the hard work everyone has done to ensure the safety of our students, staff, and students. Thank you for your time. Rhonda Wasco.
Okay, the next letter is also dated today from D. Mendoza. I'm a grandma to 3 students and see how hard being out of school is on them and my son. It's hard to watch over them and help them in their classes, and I see how it has become a terrible strain on us all. They need to be in school. The teachers have been vaccinated, so it will be safe. We all have been shopping and working since the shutdown, and our kids have suffered the most. We don't have as many people here like other cities. Other schools in bigger cities have opened, and our teachers have been vaccinated. Our kids are suffering emotionally, mentally, academically. Put the kids first and your stupid fears second. My kids need to be in school. D. Mendoza.
Okay, the next letter was dated February 7th from Tina Rose. Dear FBUSD Board of Trustees and Superintendent Walker, we are at almost 11 months of school closure. Students have been forced into remote learning and are suffering major effects of the continued shutdown. UCSF Benioff Children's Hospital has seen a staggering 75% increase in the number of children brought in for emergency mental health services that require immediate hospitalization. Studies also have shown that shutdowns are linked to increased risk of obesity and higher rates of depression and anxiety during and after isolation ends. Research from the UCLA Fielding School of Public Health and the University of Washington concluded that declining educational attainment due to school closures may be associated with a decrease in life expectancy in U.S. children. This data is real, and a generation of children are suffering. At the same time, extensive research and data from across the globe shows schools can be reopened safely for both students and teachers. According to an American Academy of Pediatrics study, schools can reopen safely without causing larger community spread if proper mitigation measures such as masking, physical distancing, and hand washing are in place. Studies from Europe, the United Kingdom, Norway, Spain echo findings that schools have not seen super spreader events, and yet our school remains closed. Students are being left behind, and it's a tragedy. Our FBUSD's teachers have had the opportunity to be vaccinated. It should be noted they had the option in front of many elderly and high-risk individuals. If that means that the children of the community can return to in-person instruction more expeditiously, that is a move that would be acceptable for the greater good of the community. Now is the time that you can make a move to help the children in your community. Please vote in favor of reopening the schools to the maximum extent allowable. Teachers and students must return to the classroom. Do not allow fear to be the driving factor to vote no. The children need your help. CDC Director Rochelle Walensky told reporters in a White House briefing that there is increasing data to suggest that schools can safely reopen, and that safe reopening does not suggest that teachers need to be vaccinated. Vaccinations of teachers is not a prerequisite for safely opening schools. The nation's infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, along with Governor Newsom, have said we can open schools safely. Our local community has a low incidence of cases. Our teachers are vaccinated. Students that want to stay home have the option. The district has a plan that addresses all scenarios safely. So what are we waiting for? Sincerely, Tina Rose.
Okay, the next letter is dated February 7th, and it's from Katie Turner Carr. Dear school board members, I know the state has given the go-ahead to open. I am so incredibly grateful that our teachers have had the opportunity to get the vaccine. Thank you to Becky and those that made that happen. The relief that I and probably other teachers' family members feel knowing that our loved ones have that protection when they go back to teaching in person is great. I know you will probably be voting in favor of opening our schools. Even so, I feel a responsibility to our community as well as to our school family to at least mention that opening while we are on our way back to Deep Purple is not the responsible thing to do for the health of this community. Yes, I know that many people want their kids back in school, and yes, our teachers have had the opportunity to vaccinate, thank goodness. But opening schools while we are headed back to Deep Purple with these stronger variants of the virus that are here now is very dangerous for our community. With schools open in a small community like ours, the virus will have the opportunity to spread quickly. Teachers, even vaccinated, may bring the virus home to their families. We all know teachers want to teach students in person, and we all want that when it is safe. But teachers are being asked to risk more than just their health when they go back. They have to carry the weight of possibly bringing COVID-19 home to their loved ones. In just the past few weeks, teachers have received multiple letters each week regarding multiple positive cases and exposures that have occurred with FBUSD employees or students, and we are not even open yet. Imagine if we were. If these employees or students were all on campus, it could have been a disaster. So why open now? People can be exposed and get COVID-19 even if they are masked. Vaccinated people may still spread the virus. Young students can indeed get and spread the virus and can become terribly sick, and long-term effects of this virus are still unknown. I will not be sending my kids back to school, and my husband teaches high school, so we won't yet have the worry of exposure or possibly spreading this virus. I am very grateful that I won't have to worry each day if my husband is bringing home the virus. But K-6 teachers will worry. They will worry about bringing it home. They will worry about if they exposed themselves when they comforted an upset child or sent home a feverish kid, or if the kids got too close and put each other at risk in their classrooms. They will worry about the safety of their family and their students more than they already do. So please offer more internet rooms for the parents and kids who really need their children on campus, but don't open our schools until the vaccine is more widespread and the majority of families in our district has had the option to be vaccinated. I know there's no way to make everyone happy, but there is a way to keep this community safe. Thank you again for your hard work to protect our educators. Truly, Katie Turner Carr.
The next letter came in on February 5th from Christy Tangerway. And it's Dear FBUSD School Board members, I am once again writing to advocate for the safety of Fort Bragg Unified School District staff, students, administrators, aides, families, and our community at large. I am urging you to not reopen the K-6 schools to on-site instruction due to these facts. As of February 4th, there were 26 additional cases identified in our county. Fort Bragg currently has the second highest number of active cases in our county, 38. Community spread is at an all-time high, 39%. As of February 5th, only 17% of Mendocino County has been vaccinated, with Fort Bragg holding only a small percentage of that number. Kids 0 to 18 continue to comprise about 15% of our known cases. Kids ages 0 to 12 make up 7% of our known cases. People can be infected and contagious before they know they are sick. Staff, children, their families, and other community members that come in contact with other community members they come in contact with are not immune to COVID-19. The pandemic is not under control. The very real possibility remains that things can get worse with COVID in our area. There are new variants, more holidays for fools to gather for, and people are simply growing wary, which leads to complacency. The K-6 reopening plan for in-person instruction relies on families to pre-screen their students before sending them to school. We can agree that people send their kids to school when they know they are sick. You also can agree that not everyone wears their mask correctly nor consistently. I have seen this with my own eyes the times I have visited school sites in the past 10 months. As parents and leaders, it is our job to shepherd these children through hard times and keep them safe. Striving to reopen K-6 in a rush for normalcy that does not exist, not a good reason to put our community at risk. Thank you for your consideration and for your commitment to the greater good for our community. Christy Tangeray.
Okay, the next letter is dated January 28th. Becky, can you help me with pronouncing this lady's last name? I don't want to mispronounce it.
Cheryl Coons.
Coons, okay, thank you.
And it was Christy Tangway.
So the letter starts, "Hi, I hope you are well. Since I will not be able to attend the meeting, I was hoping to provide my input here about reopening. We prefer longer periods on campus as opposed to half days. For example, 6 hours all day with alternating weeks or days. I had concerns with the prior reopening plan resulting in less teaching time than is currently being received remotely. We are happy with remote learning with Ms. Cook, but we are excited to get back to campus. When alternating schedules are implemented, what will be the plan for the children not on the campus? This was not clear in the prior plan. Is there a plan to film the teacher instructing on campus for students at home? If so, and you need volunteers to assist with this, I can be available 1 day per week. Thank you for your consideration. Yay, Dana Gray, Cheryl Coons." And when I said Ms. Cook, I was thinking of the high school teacher, Ms. Cook, but same spelling on Dana Gray campus is Ms. Koch, right?
Miss Coke.
Coke. Okay, there we go. Thank you.
Okay, the next letter is from Jessica Burbeck, dated February 5th. Dear School Board, I am writing to you in regards to reopening our public schools. I do not agree with the proposed schedule and really hope you will reconsider your plan. All of our schools need to be fully reopened to all our students and at the same time. These kids need the structure and the consistency in order to learn. The plan you are proposing is disruptive, and I think it will do even more harm than good to their education. I think a great injustice is being done to our children by not allowing our students to return to the classroom when other schools have reopened. Healthcare and emergency personnel did not get to vote if they wanted to continue their jobs. The teachers have received the vaccine ahead of the elderly. They have received everything that they have demanded, and now I ask you to demand that they return to their classrooms. Those that don't feel comfortable are welcome to look for other employment just as the rest of the world has done. It is time to remind them of their public service that is paid for by the taxpayers for our children. Enough is enough, and it is time to start putting our students' education first. Jessica Burbeck.
Okay, the next letter, dated February 5th, is from Mary Iverson, 6th and 9th grade parent to 2 amazing kids. Dear school board members, I'd first like to thank you for all of your tireless work for the kids of our community. I truly appreciate all of your efforts, particularly during such a difficult and unpredictable time. I am emailing you today to encourage you to vote to send our students back to school. While I highly encourage all students to go back, high school included, I am optimistic to hear that the K-6 is being considered. I can only speak of the educational and emotional downturn that my 6th grader has taken. She has lost all motivation for school. She cries at least once per week, feels overwhelmed, and often behind in class. This has been a pattern since early in the year and has only gotten worse as time has gone on. The online platform is just not working, even with a seasoned, motivated teacher like she's blessed to have. As I said before, all kids need to be back, but for now, I'm happy to hear that the younger students are being considered. Please follow the example of other successful schools and open back up. Thank you, Mary Iverson.
The next letter is from Gina Balassi, dated February 4th. Dear Fort Bragg Unified Board of Trustees, thank you again for the dedicated work you all do for Fort Bragg School District. I truly respect each of you and realize the difficult position you have been placed in at this time. You are all making a decision that is responsible for the future of our staff, children, families, and the greater community as a whole. This is a heavy feeling. I will start by saying I am still not supporting returning to the classroom at this time. I find it to be irresponsible and exhausting to be back trying to decide if sending our children back to school is a safe decision. We have all been dealing with this pandemic for 11 months now, and we can all agree it has taken a toll on each of us. Families, children, staff, community, we all are faced with struggles. But I would also like to look at the positive side, which is we have all made it this far. Our Fort Bragg FBUSD community is whole. My family is continuing to do well with remote learning, as are many. This seems to be overlooked or even looked down upon for surviving the pandemic in a positive way. I have always strived to be the best role model for my children, and in return, I see the best coming from them. However, what I seem to see a lot of is many adults who are focusing on the negative. This seems to be normal and heavy topic, especially one that is related to children. But after all, we are all trying to survive a pandemic. So with all that being said, I am once again voicing my concerns. With these reoccurring attempts to open our schools, we have all been faced with the uncertainty, confusion, disappointment, and the constant threat of change and disruption for many. I am truly not blinded by the struggles of our teachers, children, and families are faced with. I will be keeping my children home, but that doesn't mean I can't voice my opinion or concerns. I have always put my all into my early childhood career in this community, and I have come to love my extended families, whether it be fellow teachers or students that I have watched grow in our small community. I have deep concern for them, and I want you, the Board of Trustees, to heavily weigh the risks you are about to vote on. By allowing children back on campus for the very short remainder of the school year, you risk the chance of spreading the virus to children, families, teachers, and our community. We all know that even teachers who have been chosen to receive the vaccine are not guaranteed to remain COVID-free, nor are their families. We all know that children may recover and do okay with COVID infection, but will their parents and grandparents? I worry for our most vulnerable members of our community who are still being overlooked and struggling to receive the vaccine. Many of these members are living in the same household as the children who attend schools. I think waiting for our community to gain a bigger percentage of vaccinated members is wise. This would allow for our students to return in the fall with the possibility of them being in the age group included in the children's vaccines that are being studied now. And in a recent article focusing on the vaccines, the head CEO of Moderna even is quoted saying, "I think the world does not understand what's coming ahead of us." This was a direct quote in the response to the new dangerous variants of COVID as of February 3rd, 2021. This is something for us all to think about. I see the number of cases have not improved, but have only gone up since the last attempt to return to the classroom. We are changing the narrative to fit the agenda to get children back to the classroom. There is really no other way to see that. I dislike the plan that states that once our schools are open, they will be able to stay open even with a rise in cases. This is disturbing for me and a very moral moment for everyone. I will stop here and once again ask the Board of Trustees to think about everyone involved in this decision. Sometimes we do what's best for all or the whole of the community, no matter how difficult that may be. This is a great lesson to teach and grow from. Thank you for your time, Gina Balassi.
Okay, and the next letter is dated February 8th, and it's from Nancy Bennett. Dear President Paoli and members of the Fort Bragg Unified School District Board, I'm writing you as a parent and essential worker who has been working safely face-to-face with the general public since the pandemic. I wish to express my complete support of having our students return to as much in-person instruction as possible. Last Wednesday, a Southern California chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics made a formal statement encouraging schools to reopen immediately. This group represents about 1,500 primary care pediatricians, pediatric medical subspecialists, and pediatric surgical specialists in the Los Angeles County area. Dr. Alice Kuo, I'm not sure, executive board member of the Southern California chapter and professor of pediatrics at UCLA said, "We are causing undue harm to millions of children by keeping schools closed for this long. I am hoping to soon see that sentiment echoed by our Northern California chapters as well. My plea to you tonight is to make decisions based on facts and science and not fear. I not only urge you to reopen our schools to as much in-person instruction as possible, but to also push our county to apply pressure to the state of California on the data that continues to keep our upper grades from going back to school. The lack of transparency from our state is alarming. We can't keep moving the goalpost and continue to write plans for a plan to return. Please be an advocate for our students. Thank you, Nancy Bennett."
Okay, so I think that might have been the final comment. Did anything else come in, Renee?
No, that was the last comment.
Thank you, everyone, for contributing and spending the time to write us. So then the next item on the agenda will be 4.1, consider approval of FBUSD 2021 COVID-19 safety plan.
So when we met as a parent group, and Diana, I think we've got some back voice on you, so you may need to mute. So when we had the parent meetings, I presented 2 documents to everybody, and those 2 documents comprise our safety plan. It is the school guidance checklist sent out by the California Department of Public Health, CDPH, and then our COVID prevention plan. And that is a document that that is the Cal OSHA plan. So those 2 documents together, not alone, not separate, but together, comprise our COVID safety plan. So there are 2 documents in the board packet, and I submitted those documents on January 29th. And then how it's supposed to work is that public health looks at it, and then in 7 days, they give us a yay or a nay. Dr. Corin, Elisa Fredrickson, Dr. Corin is our public health officer, looked at that, contacted me back on February 3rd and said, hey, Becky, we need you to change a few things and make some revisions. So I did that. So in doing the revisions, I then sent that to them again. And when they give me the green light, then I can resubmit. So even right now, if you wanted to vote to open schools up tomorrow, we can't do that because we don't have public health's approval. So I had to change a couple of things because they wanted more specificity on testing. So I'm going to share my screen with you so I can show you some of the changes that were made so that if you decide to approve this, you can approve it with the pending changes. So let me get that up. Okay, and can everybody see my screen? If I make it bigger, does that help? Okay, so the first couple of things, in our plan, I had to change our additions. I didn't have TK listed, so I have TK listed now because our TK classroom is a TKK combination. So to open up on February 22nd, as we're asking, it would be for preschool, transitional kindergarten, grade 3, and grade 6. And then to return on March 1st would be grades 1, 2, 4, and 5. So everything on here is the same as it was presented before. I had this question twice about the departmentalized groups. So I removed one of them because it was a redundancy. This was all the same from all the parent meetings. The one thing that needed to be cleaned up from public health that they requested was the testing of staff and students. So let me just kind of give you the brief overview. If we are in the deep purple tier when we open, which is fewer than 25 positive cases per 100,000, but more than 14, that's deep purple, between 14 and 25, then CDPH says that we're required to provide testing to all staff and students. So I've worked with Lucretia Renteria. She is fabulous. Thank you, Lucretia, for working with our communities. All public school employees will have the opportunity to have a PCR test, COVID test, every Thursday from 1 to 5. And that's all of the public school employees on the coast. So that's Mendocino Unified, Fort Bragg Unified, Montessori Del Mar, Three Rivers Charter, the Catholic school. So we've worked that out with the clinic. So our employees are now signing up every week to go and get tested. I had our employees on an 8-week rotation. And what we discovered is that many of our employees didn't want to test. So of the 30 people who were scheduled each week, we'd only have like 5 to 10. So now moving forward, any employee can test whenever they want. It's provided every week for them. Lucretia is ready to test all 250 of our employees or 2 of our employees. And right now for this week, out of our employees, we already have 22 people signed up to test this Thursday. So this is a much more efficient way for us to test. The PCR test is a much better test than the rapid test. So that's what we have for staff testing. What do we have for student testing? We are acquiring the Buy Next Now rapid test. So for instance, if you have any kind of cold or flu-like symptoms and you make an appointment with your healthcare provider, they may have what's called a rapid test. And that test is administered on site, on hand, but there's no lab work. That test, because it's a rapid test, requires much more of a viral load for a true positive. So we are acquiring 4,000 of these Buy Next Now tests so that we can test students on campus for parents who would like that. The clinics also told us that if parents want their kids tested, the best thing for us to do is to send our kiddos to the Mendocino Coast clinics for a PCR test. Why? And that's because a PCR test is much more sensitive to the COVID-19 virus. It is much more sensitive and doesn't require the larger viral load that a Buy Next Now test requires, that rapid test. So you have a rapid test and you have a PCR test. So the PCR is much more sensitive. It is a much more accurate test. So for instance, if you are asymptomatic, but you are totally COVID positive, the Buy Next Now test may show you as a false negative. It may show you as being negative for COVID-19 because your viral load is not strong enough to warrant a full positive from that Buy Next Now. However, you could be asymptomatic, have COVID, get a PCR test, and you would show up as positive. So those are those two different kinds of tests. So how does the Buy Next Now mitigate that? Buy Next Now requires that if you have a negative test from the Buy Next Now rapid test, you need to come back in 3 to 4 days and test again. So the Buy Next Now requires that you test twice in 1 week if they're negative. If the Buy Next Now, you take it and it comes up positive, then we refer you to your healthcare provider. We contact public health to make sure that you and your family have the appropriate quarantine and isolation information that you need to keep your family safe and everybody around you who your contacts are safe. And then contact tracing begins. So the testing was what Dr. Korn asked us to fix up and shore up. And so I've done that on here. People are going to ask, are you going to force my kid to test? No, we're not going to force anybody to test. We are going to have that option for you. We're going to have a permission slip that's going to be included with the on-campus agreement. If you want your child tested every week, we're going to make that happen. If you want to have your child not tested, then we're not going to force that. As of right now, there's no requirement for testing. There's a testing requirement that needs to be provided. We are going to provide that. And this is the tricky part because we have parents saying, you can't force my kid to test. We have employees who are saying, are you really going to force me to test? And so more so than anything, what we need to remember is when we do a test, it tells us that one moment in time where they are. So I like having the Buy Next Now tests on campus because if anyone is symptomatic, we can send them to their primary care provider, but we can offer the Buy Next to happen right in our schools. And you get a test result within 15 minutes. Like I said, if it is a negative test, you're going to need to come back in 3 and 4 days and test again. If it's a positive test, then we move you to your healthcare provider and we contact public health so we can ensure that you get the appropriate information necessary. So that was the part that you could see on here that Dr. Korn had asked that I improve, and the testing of students is exactly what I said. Our first line of defense is the PCR test. It's much more accurate. When speaking to Lucretia about the PCR test, she encouraged us to send any students and staff to the clinics for that PCR test because it's a better read. And then everything else in here was pretty much the same as what I had presented in the parent meetings and all the dates and so forth. So this was the checklist. The other part of this is our COVID-19 prevention plan. In the original document, the appendices are referred to many times, but I didn't include them. And I didn't include them because they're not writable forms, but I included them in this version so that folks could see them. Here's Appendix A, and it talks about identification of COVID hazards. So it's a form that's not fillable, but these are the things that we have in our COVID reporting form that you could fill in the comments. And then Appendix B was COVID inspections. And our custodians have our inspections for our filters and our facilities. So that's why I didn't include this. And then investigating COVID-19, this is for contact tracing. So these are not fillable forms, but we will not be doing this in isolation. We will be doing this in partnership with public health. And then the last appendix was the training roster. And all of our training has been recorded and online. The next set of training that we're going to be doing is Wendy Boyce and I were trained today with the BINEX. We have to go online and certify that training, meaning that we have to take a test and show that we know what we're doing. And then once we do that, we'll be able to train our health aides to do the BINEX testing. And just so everybody knows, the BINEX testing is self-administered. So our health aides don't do the swabbing for the kids. The kids and parents do it themselves. So it's a pretty easy test. If anybody's had a rapid test, you have a cotton swab. You need to put the cotton swab about an inch, half an inch in your nose. You swab 5 times in one nostril, swab 5 times in the other nostril. Drops are placed on the rapid test. The cotton swab is inserted into the test. The test is folded over, and you wait for 15 minutes. 1 line shows you that it's negative, and 2 lines, if they appear, one's purple, one's pink, then you have a positive test. So these are the 2 documents that I have before you. We have to have a COVID safety plan, whether you open or not. And so my recommendation is that you approve the documents with the revisions. Questions for me?
I have a quick question. I think you said it, but what was the date you resubmitted the plan?
I can't resubmit until Dr. Corin tells me he's ready to resubmit.
Oh, okay.
So I'm hoping that we can resubmit tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thanks.
And then from there, it's another 7 days.
So these 2 documents need to be approved regardless of what the decision is for the board. The CPP plan, is that, a lot of it seems like it's boilerplate. It's so when it says, practices and procedures, that's kind of instructing you on what your staff needs to know, because to me,
let me explain. You're right on the boilerplate. So that CPP plan came to us from document tracking services. So we contract with document tracking services for all of our school documents, for our SARCs, our school accountability report card, for our site plans, for our LCAP, for anything that comes through the state as a requirement from CDE. Document tracking services takes the CDE template, creates the template for us, and then shows us where we need to put in our own revisions or our own what we do as a district. What's difficult is, poor Dr. Corin, he's looking at all of these plans. He didn't realize that this was a boilerplate template. So hundreds of school districts are using this template. It's not just Fort Bragg by ourselves. A great many school districts are using this template. And so they are trying to work through that template to make sure that it matches the current health orders. And that's why there was some delay. So some things that were in the plan that I was asked to change and to edit because it didn't match up. Well, that plan came directly from Cal OSHA. That was not a plan that we created on our own. So that plan, when you're reading it, is the document that we are using from document tracking services, and we contract with document tracking services so that we know we have everything included that we need. So that's been the hiccup right now with Dr. Corin and trying to get our plan approved. It's trying to navigate the boilerplate language, the checklist, make sure those match with the public health order. And that's why it's taking us a little bit longer. We are the first ones to submit our plan using document tracking services. So I thought, silly little me, I thought, oh, this will be easy. And it's not. So Dr. Corrin says once he gives me his final revisions that he wants included in there, then I will put those back in the plan, and then I can resubmit. And resubmitting means I resubmit to the Mendocino County Office of Education, to Dr. Corrin again, and also to the California Department of Public Health. So I resubmitted to those three entities back on January 29th. I had to wait 7 days for the feedback from Dr. Corrin. I had feedback from him on February 3rd. I'm waiting for feedback again. When I get the feedback the second time and he says, okay, green light, go, then I'll resubmit them again to those three entities, and then we wait 7 days. So that's what we're doing. And I'm in close contact with both Lisa Fredrickson and Dr. Corrin to get this moving. Any other questions?
Have any questions?
Yes, Kathy. Sorry.
So I guess I was trying to grab my calendar. So when you say you're in close contact, then he understands where our timeline is. Is that so that when you say by Friday or tomorrow, then that would be
the 16th of February that we would have to hear by, and we're on break.
So the latest. So if we haven't resubmitted by Friday, then
we're in trouble.
We won't make. Okay.
I've been very clear on the dates. I think they're tired of hearing from me. I've done everything they've told me to do. I promise you, I am playing nice.
So my only question is, this was submitted without our approval, and so, but we really want to approve this evening, and do we have to have it revised again because the color tier might change? It looks like it's different, and then what if the numbers? There's things in there.
So let me just kind of assuage your fears here. My plan was to submit this to Public Health. They would approve, and then I would bring you approved plans for you to approve. That all makes sense, doesn't it? Well, it didn't work that way. So I need to get you to approve, and you can say, and what the motion would have to be would be that you would approve pending Public Health's approval. So that if Public Health says I need to make revisions and additions, then you're not really in a position to say, no, Public Health, we don't agree with you. You can say that, but what it means is we're not going to open. So what I would encourage you to do is that if you look at this, and you don't see anything glaring and it looks okay to you, then you can say that you approve pending any further revisions from Public Health. And that way, when I get the green light to resubmit, I can resubmit.
Okay, is there any, Kathy?
I just want to make sure I'm clear and that the public's clear. So these safety plans, I mean, they are in conjunction with 4.2 and 4.3, but when we approve 4.1, it's not really saying we are or aren't opening.
Correct.
I just want to.
Yeah. Great clarification. We must have a safety plan and a checklist approved by Public Health before we can reopen. Okay. And so they have to be posted on our website. So I'm still waiting for that approval. So everything that you're going to do tonight, yay or nay, is going to have to be pending Public Health approval. But once you decide if you want me to go back to the drawing board, you could all go rogue right now and just say, you know what, Becky, we don't like it. We don't like how it looks. We don't like the font. We want you to start over. So, whatever you tell me to do, I need to go back and do it. My goal is to have our ducks in a row so that when you're ready to reopen schools, we are ready to reopen schools.
So my only, my other question would be, this is kind of like in stone, like right now, today, this is what's happening. But what if we change something? What if we have to, renegotiate something? I mean, it's kind of, with this COVID land and with so many plans that are changing, it's probably hard to be clairvoyant, because maybe next month we'll have something different, or next week we'll have a, new plan. So can we get ahead of this, or is this?
No, I think we have to do what we have right now before us. I can't anticipate the changes that may or may not come ahead of us. I haven't been able to do that since March 17, 2020. And in fact, the crystal ball that I was using has been wrong every time. So I broke it. and we're not using it anymore. At this point, all I can give you is what I know and what we have. And it would be irresponsible of me to give you anything but that. This abides and aligns with our current MOUs, and all I can give you right now is with what I know.
Is there going to be any further deliberation, or may I have a motion?
I'll move that we consider approval of the FBUSD 2021 COVID-19 safety plan pending the public health officer's approval.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call, please. Renee?
Yes. Trustee Schneider
Yes.
and Trustee Mattson.
Yeah.
Trustee Babcock.
Yes.
Trustee Makla
Yes.
and President Paoli.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank you. So the next item is 4.2, consider approval of reopening plan and return to school for preschool to 6th grade.
So right now, under the current public health guidelines, the only grades you can consider opening to right now is grades preschool through grade 6. The way school openings go is if you open any grade, preschool has to go. And just so you know, we've had kids back on campus in our internet rooms. Head Start emailed me today and said, hey, just so you know, we've been back since September. Our special ed classrooms have had students back either 1 or 2 at a time. So right now, all that you have in front of you and all that you can do as a board is to reopen, like I said, grades preschool through grade 6. If you want to reopen, then in order for a school to be open, 1 full grade must be open and open to everyone in that grade. So you can't just say, well, we're going to open 3rd grade, but only to our EL students and our special ed students. That doesn't work. That's not an opening. It has to be open equally to everybody in that grade level in order for that school to be deemed as open. So right now, the plan that we have in front of you is to open up grades TK, kindergarten, and preschool at Redwood. Then at Dana Gray, open up grade 3. And at the middle school, all we can do is open up grade 6. What I like about this is that all the kiddos who have not attended those schools yet will be back by themselves for a little bit. And it's only a week. And really, it's only 2 days because A days are Monday, Tuesday, and B days are Thursday, Friday. But it gives them a chance to be on campus prior to everybody coming back. Now, everybody is a loose term. Please hear that loud and clear. Because if you approve this and then we reopen the other grades on March 1st, then what would happen is half the kids would come in from all those grade levels. As of right now, we only have about 2/3 of our family, 2/3 of our families who have indicated that they will be, they will have their children return. So if you look at that and you recognize that 2/3 are coming back and we split those in half, you really are going to have 1/3 of the kiddos on campus. Families have asked me in numerous questions, well, what does that look like? What it means is that the kiddos who are in person will be in person with their teacher, let's say on Monday and Tuesday on A days, and the kiddos who are live with their teacher on Thursday and Friday would be online Monday and Tuesday. So the teacher would be in the classroom doing both, having the in-person kids and the online kids at the same time. So we have 65-inch screen, touch screen, True Touch RS models. They look like big TVs. And that's how the teachers can either use to put the kiddos on that screen. They can use to teach from it. So we have different ways that our teachers can do it. I trust in their expertise and their professionalism. I know they'll do a great job. So that's what we're looking at for reopening. Grades preschool through grade 6. February 22nd, right after the break, we bring back preschool TKK, 3rd and 6th. Then on March 1st, we bring back grades 1, 2, 4, and 5.
Does anyone have any clarifying questions?
Yeah, if I may. So do we have enough seats for all the students that want to come back?
Yes.
Okay. Is there going to be any official notification families need to give as to whether they are bringing their kids back in person or staying online, or are you going by the surveys you sent out?
We're going by the surveys that we've already conducted, and what's going to happen is that all the principals will be sending home a letter to families so that they know if they're A days or B days. If a family says, hey, you know what, I changed my mind, I'm not doing this, they can stay home and their kiddos can participate online. As long as we see the kids online or in a seat, the kiddo is marked present. If someone changes their mind who is in a strictly online environment and they say, well, how come I didn't get an A or a B day? I want my kid back. They need to contact the principal, and the principal will look for an open seat in a classroom that is meeting in person. It may take a few days, but for right now, that's the road that our parents need to navigate if they want to have their kids come back.
Okay, and my last question, then I'll stop for a little bit anyway, is it says all students and staff will wear face coverings while present on campus and in classrooms. And then the fourth bullet down says refusal to comply with the safety protocol will result in the student being placed on full distance learning. Can you define refusal to comply?
So I had to put that in there because Dr. Korn wanted that, to be quite honest with you. He wanted to know what happens when someone doesn't wear a mask. So there's different levels of this, right? If we have a kiddo who's walking around and their mask is too big, and as they're walking around, their mask slips down, and this happens to all of us. Okay, that's not refusal to comply. That's, hey, honey, can you pull your mask up, please? And the kiddo does it. If we have a kiddo who rips off the mask and says, you can't make me wear this, I'm not going to do it, now we have an issue. We're going to have to talk to the parents and say, unless they can wear their mask full time while they're here, they're not going to be able to be on campus. Now, it's not a one and done deal. Okay, it's not. It's only going to be a one and done deal when we have a kiddo who rips their mask off and say, you can't make me do this. Now, what I'm hoping, what all of us are hoping, is that our families are working with their kids to wear their mask and to understand that that mask needs to stay on. I was at BNC today fully masked, picking up lunch before this meeting, and there was a little girl in there, 4 years old, with her mask on, and she did a beautiful job. We know kids can do this. If they don't like their mask because it's scratchy, we just received 1,000 cloth masks from the Children Fund, and we're going to be giving those out to families so they can have a cloth mask. If they would like a reusable, disposable mask so they don't have to wash them, Barry Silva has just ordered another, I think, 10,000 student masks. So we're going to have options for families. We're happy to give them to our families. But if we have kiddos, if we have students who are refusing to wear a mask, or they're going to play with their mask and dip it below their nose to be a stinker, just to mess with people, which, I get, kids are at that age, then they're not going to be able to be on campus. If it's something very honest where it's slipping down and we have to ask them to pull it up, we're going to try and find a mask that has a better fit. But we're not out to stick it to kids.
So what happens? You get a kid, comes in, doesn't wear the mask, is sent home, parents have a talking with the kid, family promises the kid will wear the mask next time. Are they going to be allowed back?
Oh, we're going to try again. We're absolutely going to try again. But the hard part is we can only try again so much. Right? And if it's not going to work, then the kiddo's going to have to go up to the office and wait for mom and dad to pick them up. And so what I need to reiterate to everybody is that this is not January 2020. Okay? This is not February 2019, where we send our kids sick to school and we get 10 or 12 chances for our kiddos to do the right thing when it comes to masking. That day is over. If your kiddo has allergies and they're sneezing all day, don't send them to school. I know, I get what allergies are, okay? But allergies aren't going to work. We have to presume that anybody who has that level of sneezing is COVID positive. That's how we have to respond right now. So we are in a new day for in-person instruction. Don't send your kids sick to school, because I guarantee you we're going to have to send them home. We don't have a choice. And if you can't come and pick up your kid in a timely manner, then we have to say, please stay at home for distance learning. We are so stuck right now. And it's not a judgment on whether we like you or don't like you. It's what we have to do to keep public health happy and keep everybody safe. Literally, Lisa Fredrickson and Dr. Korn said, Becky, we don't see anywhere in your plan what happens when a kid doesn't wear a mask. I said, well, I said in the plan that they have to wear a mask. Okay, well, what happens if they don't? And so that's why you see that in all of our plans now. So the hard part with this is I cannot impress enough upon our families. This is not February 2019. This is not February 2020. We are in a new day of February 2021. Do not send your kids sick to school. It's not going to fly. If your kid is coughing a little bit, but continue to cough consistently because they've got a tickle in their throat, they're going to be sent home. We have no choice. If your kiddo has nasal drainage because they're sniffling from allergies, they're not going to be able to stay at school. And the same goes for the staff. This is a tricky, tricky time, and there's no way around it.
Anyone else?
All right, another one, if I may.
Sure, Scott.
So it says students will not eat. I know this has been an issue in some of the comments. Students will not eat in classrooms while the county is in the deep purple. Is that a requirement or is that a safety thing? Can you explain, go into a little detail on eating in the classroom?
So that's a safety measure for right now. I know what folks are going to say. Well, they're eating in the internet rooms. You're absolutely right. They're eating in the internet rooms. They're in the internet rooms for 5 hours. They're in the internet rooms from 8:30 to 1:30. So we know it can be done safely, but for right now, with having more kids on, we are going to need to watch that. And someone's going to say, well, what if my kid's hungry? Well, if the kiddo's hungry, we're going to give them some kind of snack and ask them either to step right outside so that they can unmask and eat. The hard part for this is we're going to have to kind of move and roll with the punches here. Our teachers are also having to learn how to do this in real time. So I fully recognize how we did this with the internet rooms. That first week was incredibly nail biting for some of our staff. And once they were able to get into it and see, okay, we can eat safely in here, there's things we can do in here, then it'll be fine. I promise you that if we have a kiddo who is hungry, we're not going to say, sit here for 3 hours and let your stomach growl. We're probably going to send them to the office or send them to another person so that they can eat. So that they can go back to class. Now, please don't confuse this, everyone, okay? We're trying to keep this situation safe, and we're trying to allow it so that our teachers can evolve as we move forward. Redwood has already said, some teachers have said, 3 hours is a long time for little bellies. I agree. 3 hours is a long time for little bellies. We need to go at this at a very proactive approach, and we need to do this step by step, okay? So as much as possible, we are going to try and stick with this, but none of us are in the business of keeping kids hungry and saying no soup for you. And those of you who are old enough to know what that means. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at. Yes, Mary.
So I appreciate the gradual way you're going about this. It makes a lot of sense. I'm curious about the bathroom situation. That's something that's come up for me a lot, is that if you've got all of your kindergartners and TK kids on campus, or all your third graders in various classrooms, the kids are saying, I need to go to the bathroom. Are we training the kids on how to handle? Okay, so let me explain a couple of things. I had the pleasure of watching Cron News with Dr. Gandhi. She is one of the doctors at UCSF, highly educated. She talked about contact exposure. And she said in this news report, and I couldn't find it on YouTube, but what she said in the news report was that what we know about contact exposure now is that it's not the leading force of transmission. She said it, and I remember this so vividly because I thought it was gross. She said 100 people who are COVID positive would need to sneeze on a countertop, and then you would have to go over and lick that countertop in order to get COVID. So apologies, I swear that's what she said. So why am I telling you that? I'm telling you that because when kiddos go into the bathroom, they're going to have their mask on. They're going to use the potty. When they come out of the potty, the first thing they're going to do is hand sanitize. Okay. If any teacher is worried about the potties, our custodians can come in and spray the potties as many times as they want. So the bathrooms that are the shared bathrooms on the campuses are going to get sprayed twice a day. If they need to get sprayed more, then we'll spray it more. It's really a quick procedure.
It takes under 2 minutes to spray the bathroom, and then it's a 1 minute kill time. So that's going to be something that we're going to look at. But what I want to remind people of is when we are going to be training the kids, you go into the potty, you use the potty, you wash your hands. After you're done washing your hands, you go back into the classroom. Anytime a kid passes through that doorway of a classroom, the first thing they do is hand sanitize. So those are the procedures we are going to be training our kiddos on. And I don't care if you're 3 years old or if you're 18 years old. The minute you walk through the door of the classroom, anytime you walk through the door of the classroom, you're re-entering the classroom, you are going to hand sanitize before you sit down. Yes,
Okay,
Mary.
I'm glad to hear they're going to do that. I hope they've been doing that all along.
They have been. I watched it in the internet rooms, to be quite honest with you. I'm watching like the 8-year-olds do it in the internet rooms.
Right.
They have the bathroom, but they have the bathroom in their room and they're still doing it.
I meant all the time before COVID. I
Yeah.
hope people are doing that. But my question is more about what if multiple kids are coming into the restroom at the same time?
So
like
Redwood is going to have, Redwood and Dana Gray are both going to have bathroom monitors
Oh, okay.
to make sure that we're limiting the entrance of those of kids in the bathroom.
Okay, yeah, that was my concern. Thanks.
And just talking to other administrators, the bathroom is not really the concern. I know we're concerned about it right now because this is all new to us, but as we move closer and closer into this, I believe that the bathrooms aren't going to be the concern that we have. The high school has QR codes on their bathrooms for kids to scan their way in and out so that you know when kids are leaving rooms. And so that's one thing that we're going to see how well that happens. The other thing is that in all of our schools, we have cameras now pointing to the bathrooms. They're not in the bathrooms, but our surveillance cameras are outside to see who's going in and out. So for right now, we're going to start with the potty monitors to make sure that kids aren't playing in the bathroom, that we are maintaining control of those bathrooms. The good news for Redwood is that all the classrooms in the 20 and 30 wing have classroom bathrooms. And those are single stall bathrooms.
Anyone else?
So, Becky, can you explain again why the 9 to noon and not 9 to 1?
So for right now, we wanted to ease into this, to be quite honest with you. 9 to noon, we figured we could keep the in-person structured and moving and still allow for that targeted intervention for the kids who are online so that our kids who are online would not miss. They would have 1 hour for them. So that's where that came from. I have to tell you, I expect, let's say we stay in the purple tier. Let's say we stay in the purple tier until May. I would expect that our teachers are probably going to come back to us, our administrators are going to come back to us and say, let's revisit this. Let's just go ahead and go 9 to noon. We need to give them some time to find a rhythm and a routine. And we also need to have time to ensure that our kiddos who are online have targeted intervention time. And right now, the only way to do that is to do the 9 to noon and the 12 to 1. And hear me loud and clear. We are not going to please the vast majority. Okay. I have a kiddo in school and I'm not happy with any of this either. But we're trying to make the best decisions we can, given these incredibly restrictive guidelines. There's not much we can do here. And in the back of my head, what I keep thinking about is we have to make sure that our kiddos who have real learning loss, that we provide time to give them targeted instruction. So, Scott, I'll be really honest with you. Is it the best plan? I don't know. Am I frustrated? I am frustrated to all get out. And it's because we are moving in an area where I can't read about the best practices and give you a plan that has research behind it. I'm looking at our community. I'm working with our administrators, and we're trying to make the best plan given our staffing, given our student circumstances, and giving our facility limitations. So all those things play a factor because, I've had people say, well, let's just go 5 days a week, Becky. Just go 5 days a week, but just put 8 kids with every teacher. We don't have enough teachers. We don't even have enough classrooms to do that, but it's a great plan. And even if we did have enough teachers, oh my goodness, our budget would be like in the toilet. So that's the hard part. We have very well-intentioned community members, all of that. It's difficult to juggle this and do it in a way where folks are going to come out of this and say, oh, wow, I am so happy right now. Good job. I'm not expecting that from anyone, but we have to do the best we can given what we have. And that's why this is so tricky.
So Kathy and Jerry haven't spoke. Would you like to deliberate or have any questions?
No, it's a good dialogue. I agree with everything. I don't really have anything to add.
I think one of the things that I just want to remind is that we have to start somewhere. So I think there are a lot of valid points on the questions and concerns, but we won't know what we don't know until we start. So we're going to, I'm just grateful that there is a plan and that we have somewhere to go from because, like Becky said, hopefully as the weeks go on, then the staff can decide we need to change it to this time and we can come back with a different schedule, because if we try to come up with the best plan, we may not have any plan. So.
Well, and I just want to reiterate to the community, I hear what people are saying about COVID. What I have to remind all of us about is from everything that I continue to watch with other superintendents, other school districts, even our own school districts with our internet rooms, masking and hand hygiene work. Masking and hand hygiene work. So I have to remind folks of that. And I know people are saying, well, what about the variants? This is what viruses do. Viruses mutate, which is why not everybody, which is why a new flu shot is offered every year. Because it is not the same flu, because that flu virus mutates, it changes. So we know this is going to happen. We've had it in our history. It doesn't mean that we are going to throw caution to the wind and not be safe. Masking works, hand hygiene works, physical distancing works. We are going to do all of those things. Anybody who goes to Safeway, anybody who goes to Harvest, those two buildings have no windows in them. I don't know if people know that. Look around. And we do that because we're in and we're out, we're buying our groceries, but we're masked. And so those are the things that we have to remember. I know this is a frustrating time. And the reason it's so frustrating is because people are fearful for dying. You have no greater fear in life. I get that. I don't know how to bring anything to you that is going to make people feel better. All we can do is give people options. And I think that we are doing that. And the folks who don't want to bring their kids to school, I get it. I get it. And the people who are fearful to return to school, I get it. But I'm telling you that I truly believe in my heart, mind, and soul from watching other schools in our country and other countries open. Masking works. Hand hygiene works. Physical distancing works. When a kiddo is sneezing, coughing, we are not going to say, oh, here's more tissue. We're going to say, I'm sorry you don't feel good, honey. Let's get your mama to come pick you up. Let's get your grandma, your grandpa, your daddy, neighbor, someone to come and pick you up. The days of handing kids more tissue are over. When it gets to the point that they are clearly sneezing and have a consistent sneeze or cough, they will not be in the classroom. And this is where it's going to get tricky for folks, because no one likes getting a call from the school nurse saying you need to come pick up your kid. Been there, done that. Okay, I was one of those parents. Can you hold him for an hour? I just have this meeting. Can you give me an hour? That day is over. So here we go. We're going to do the best that we can, and I'll shut up.
I just wanted to say a few things, because through all of this, when we've all been monitoring this for 11 months, and none of us, I don't think anyone involved, the bargaining units, no one has an MD past their name. So we have to rely on the best experts that have been hired by the state. And the science has been around since summer, but nothing has changed in the sense the science, because there are many schools that are open that are practicing all of these, guidelines and protocols, and they're working. And And so I did look back in the fall from EdSource. It said out of 1,000 school districts, 925 were hybrid. And that was in the fall, and I know more are open now. And then only 75 were distant learning only. And of those 75, there were 30 that are considered a very large district like LA Unified. LA Unified County is 10 million people. Here in Mendocino County, what are we? 86,000? So we clearly don't have the same issues that they're having. And so I think that in our proposed letter further on, I don't want to berate those issues, but I think this is a very slow ship moving. And every time that we've, cautiously been working with our bargaining units, asking, for their input on details, something's changed. A new plan has come in place. But if you look at it as a whole, the state is saying it's safe to open. They've even reduced guidelines by going from 6 feet to 4 is okay. So they're basically saying, don't wait for the red carpet opening. You need to open at some point what you all agree on. And I think we've been, moving sideways and sidestepping for a really long time, but the practice is there. And
I want to remind our families, our internet rooms have been open since August. Okay, our internet rooms have been open since Labor Day. I apologize. Okay, but they've been doing it. They've had kids from 8:30 to 1:30. Kids are eating in there. Kids are going to the potty. Kids are getting their work done. They're playing outside. So we can do this. I know we can do this. And what's hard is we went back and forth in November. Do we open or do we not open? And I know folks have said, well, what's the point of opening if it's just going to be that we have another spike? The hard part is that we give our families the option. Again, our internet rooms have been open this entire time. Our internet rooms were open during the January spike, during the December spike. Masking and hand hygiene works. And here's the reality. You can vote no. That's your purview as a board. You can vote no. We have to be willing to accept the ramifications of what that no vote means and what that yes vote means. And right now, I have to be really honest with you. We have proven with the internet rooms that we can open, and it's frustrating to me to have to deny in person to all our kids. We're talking 2 days a week. Scott, I saw your hand up. I apologize.
I wanted to finish my thought as well. Go ahead, Scott.
Do you want to finish first? It's okay.
Well, I just wanted to rally in the same in the sense that I agree that if an internet room is safe and they've had success, staff has been on campus, and that's part of our letter that I hope to discuss further. It doesn't make any sense that the state doesn't recognize that as being open when we've had staff on our campus since August, and then that was for the internet rooms, and the small cohort, I think, was September 4th or vice versa. So I think there's value to that. And I think that it's time to pivot forward.
So if I may, I have three quick questions / points. One is, one of the letters from the public talked about if a teacher isn't feeling well or doesn't come in, the kids have to stay home, but that's not what I'm reading in this plan.
So no.
If you could, clarify.
So let's say, for instance, that I'm a third grade teacher, and Monday night I have some clam chowder, and it's bad clams, and I get a nasty case of food poisoning. And I call my principal and say, there is no way I am coming in on Tuesday. I'm puking my guts out. I'm bent over. Sorry. Okay. If we know early enough, we're going to contact parents and say, hey, Mrs. Walker can't come in today. She has some food poisoning. You're welcome to continue bringing your kids in. We will have an aide in that room working with your kiddos, or you can keep them home today. It's up to you. We fully recognize that kids need a routine. And also parents need a routine. They need to know that their options are available, and you can't tell them at 8 o'clock in the morning, hey, this isn't available. It will be available, but we want to give parents that option.
Okay. Second question is, it talks about student drop off and pickup. and the strict procedures, just like you're saying it's not long ago when kids were sneezing, you could give them a tissue. What are we going to do with families that regularly come late, drop off early? Like what?
They're not going to be allowed to stay on campus. It is a new day. I mean, that's the hard part. If we can't find a solution for families who drop off too early or who can't pick up their kids on time, we're in trouble. We are in trouble. And so that's the hard part with this. It's not that we're trying to stick it to our families. We have strict guidelines now. This is not going back to school as normal. There's nothing normal about this.
So are they going to have to, if you get a family that continuously shows up 20 or 30 minutes late, are they going to go on distant learning?
That's going to be our option. And okay. So if I have a pickup that is 20 or 30 minutes late, we're going to have to seriously look at distance learning. And how sad is that? But this is not normal.
And then my last is just a comment, and I'm not suggesting we change anything about it, but I think the eating in the classroom, the language is a little finite. For me, I understand we're trying to be safe. It's not a requirement by the state. And I would it's just a comment. I think that there may be instances where eating is okay in the classroom, and to say across the board that there is no eating at all in the classroom while we're in the deep purple, yes, it makes sense. But like it's been said, it's been happening in the internet room since September. So just a comment.
And I'm not opposed to kids stepping outside of the doorway. They're not in the classroom at that point. Stepping outside the doorway, being in the side of the teacher to be able to kind of have a granola bar or something to kind of get their tummies all settled. So that's why that's there. It's also to give our teachers some flexibility so that it doesn't become an overwhelming wave. Because we know how this works, right? With kiddos, especially the littles. If one person gets a granola bar, teacher, can I have a granola bar? So we know that. So doing it outside of the classroom with their masks off and out in the fresh air, we know that's the safest way for kids to have their masks off. So I do appreciate what you're saying, Scott. Thank you.
So do we need to revise that to include, those, if someone isn't, if they show up tardy, is that an issue? Or that's more from the sites? That's more
the tardy is only an issue on pickup at the end of the day.
Sure. Okay. And then just from the lens, because I do have kids in the district, and I won't take up anyone's time on this, but some of the stuff that's in here on, for me, if you believe in the science and you understand the practice and all the protocols, I guess it's a capacity issue why we have the A/B versus the 5 days a week. Because if you could be safe for 2 days, you could be safe for 5 days. And same with the high school plan. Fort Bragg's never been a trendsetter. And out of these 925 schools that are open hybrid, I've never seen the no switching before. I've seen the brilliancy of having you going from 6 periods to 3. That's about what it's saying. Students can be placed in and try to reduce the switching, but it doesn't say you can't switch. So I just want to put that out there that these plans, like I said, Fort Bragg's not a trend center, and I can't find anyone else that's mirroring these that particular plan.
And I have no problem coming back to you at some point with revisions. But like Kathy said, we have to start somewhere. Mary, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. No, I just wanted to, because I know that I've been one that has been very hesitant, and I've done tons of research and read lots. I truly believe there's no totally safe situation that's ever in any circumstances, COVID or otherwise. But I honestly believe that we are at a place, despite what people might think about the numbers and all, that we have learned about masking. We've learned to wear a mask. I mean, at the very beginning, I could hardly stand it. Like, I couldn't do this. And I forget I have it on half the time, and I've been double masking. So, and it's, people have learned to do that. And the distancing, and I see that in town where that's the only place I go is out walking, and people are they're aware of it. They're doing what they need to do. And I feel like with our community working together and, being partners in this and doing things as safely as possible, I honestly believe that we can do it with this sort of a program. So thank you for putting that together. And that's all I wanted to say.
Diana, we do have a public comment that came in at 6:10. Do you want me to read it? What would you
Please.
like?
Yes.
It's from Cindy Whitlock. Good evening, FBUSD board and family. I wasn't going to send a letter feeling that the decision has already been made. I respect and understand the work involved in the reopening plan and in the decision as to whether to push to open now. My concern after listening to some of the discussion thus far is that there seems to be the push and hurry up to get open before we go back into a position of not being able to open. If we are aware that the possibility of losing this window is likely, it feels extremely irresponsible to sneak it in before the safety guidelines prevent us from doing so. There are so many studies showing both sides of the safety of reopening. I'm very aware in a very personal way of the mental health concerns of schools remaining closed, but the rush to get open before we lose the option still feels irresponsible when we know we likely will have our hands tied again. Much respect to you all, Cindy Whitlock.
Thank you for the comment. And I was looking back at the other comments, and it's hard to go backwards, but in November, we were allowed to, before November, we were allowed to have waivers, and that was safe. And so it's either safe for us all to be open or not. There's that. But back in November, we were really worried about the flu, which is we're totally in green. It's not an issue. We don't know if that's because schools are out or because people are masking and being healthy. But reality is we had to have kids' feet on the ground, even if we had voted in November to approve the plan that was going forward. Newsom put us in deep purple. And so I just want to clarify that we just can't get ahead. And I think that our 8 months of slowly, working with our bargaining unit and getting all the details and having, it's kind of like a chess game where we're watching all these 925 districts, they're in session and we're all human. And like you said, humans have been in the internet rooms since fall and humans are going to be in the classroom. So I don't know. I'd like to value the work that's been done on our site since fall, keeping everyone safe and the protocols in place. Mary?
Sorry, I meant to add this before, but that, our staff, with over 3/4 of our staff being vaccinated, for me, that was the game changer. I feel like that's, we're not asking our staff to go in and be unprotected. So I think that makes a huge difference. And of course, medical personnel have been going to work for a long time and they come home and they change their clothes out in the garage. And, and if you had students coughing, I think if everybody's masked and nobody's coughing, nobody's yelling and screaming, we're probably all pretty safe. If there was an issue, I would take my clothes off in the garage and shower or whatever, but I do do what I need to do to keep my family safe. But I think we're at that point.
And folks, please hear me loud and clear. I get that we aren't out of the woods yet. And when we have someone who's COVID positive on our campuses, we've already said we're going to shut down. We're going to shut down for a minimum of 3 days or the rest of the week. So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of a when, and I get that. So just know that we're going into this with our eyes wide open. And I know Kathy had her hand up first, Diana, sorry.
Kathy, yeah, I was going to call on her.
Thank you. I just want to say the urgency to me is not about what the government's saying, but it's about me wanting to get children on campus in a safe and responsible way. And I think, like Mary's been saying and the way Becky's been describing the plan and the parent meetings and all these things, that it's imperative that we get kids on campus. We just have to do something. And when I say something, I mean, in some form or another, we have to get kids on campus. There are too many things that are negative that are happening. And I think that in this hybrid, very small, 1/3 of the kids on campus, the way you're phasing it in, I think that's the urgency to me. It's not about meeting a timeline because, in honesty, in my opinion, they're going to change the timeline and the reasoning and everything else. And that's not my haste. It's my genuine concern for the learning loss and the and what's happening with students. And I'm not going to bore you with, personal things that kids that I've talked to and some high school groups that I've been working with. But anyway, I don't want to talk in circles, but I just want to make sure that it's publicly said that I'm not trying to fit into the mold that the government is setting place, but that I am trying to make the best decision for children in our district.
Thank you, Kathy. And that is also, the importance of dealing with the mental health of the students and the inequity that's being placed right now. And especially for our high school kids too, there are so many schools that are open and it's safe for staff and it's safe for kids. And to think that our kiddos in our small little town of 7,500, our little, coastal area is 16,000, our numbers are wrapped in with Mendocino County. And it's just, I don't think that we're truly in, our color is not representing our strong Fort Bragg. And I think that we need to value that as well, because there's no reason, even if the survey that says 2/3, 1/3, most kids want to be in distant learning, it just tells me that even if it's 50-50, there's 50% of our kids in our student body that needs are not being met learning from, a computer at home. And that's alarming. So if there's any other further comments or deliberation, please speak now or raise your hand. Otherwise, we're going to just go ahead and I'm going to ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the reopening plan for preschool to grade 6 as presented.
Pending public health's approval.
Pending public health approval.
I'll second the motion.
Roll call, please, Renee.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
Trustee Makala,
You're muted, Mary.
Sorry, yes.
okay. President Paoli,
Yes.
Trustee Snyder,
Yes.
Trustee Mattson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The motion passes 5-0. And Becky, I really can't thank you enough. This has been, a challenging time to be in public education, and I fully support public education, and I hope, I know we'll get through this, but thank you for leading. You've been in a difficult spot, but I think we've been very methodical, and obviously we didn't have control of the steps back. And I am not super happy about some revisions that almost seem like form editing is delaying, in the sense that you have to recount the whole 7 days. And it's just, anyway, thank you for blazing the trail for others that are using the document program. So we'll move on to the next item, which is action 4.3, consider approval of reopening and return to school timelines, grades 7 through 12.
So how it works for grades 7 through 12 is we have to be in the red tier for 5 consecutive days. If your plan is approved by public health, then your school can reopen on that 6th day. So rather than having the situation where we need to plan a rushed special meeting, I'm presenting to you the plan for grades 7 through 12. It's all lumped in to our full reopening plan, and asking the board that you give me the power to reopen grades 7 through 12 pending pending our county's return to red. And it just allows us to open a little bit more quickly, rather than waiting to convene a special board meeting and getting everybody all worked up again. But it's up to you. You could say, no, we want to have a special meeting and we want to decide how to reopen. It's completely up to you. But I'm bringing this up so that we can move expeditiously, so that when we are 5 days of red, then I can open up on the soonest Monday. So if we are on the 5th day of red on Wednesday and the 6th day we can open on Thursday, we're going to open on Monday. We're not going to just boom, come back to it. But it makes the turnaround time quick. It makes us communicate with our families more quickly. Our high school has more time than anyone, and our grade 7 and 8 have more time than anyone to get ready. I know they're going to be ready for kids. We just need to give them the green light.
So in the agenda, it says that you recommend that we approve the reopening plan of grades 7 through 12 when we're in the red tier, but now you're saying, and I tend to agree with you, I don't want a special meeting. So
Right,
now, so we just approved a plan, but in looking at the plan we just approved, it doesn't say anything about 5 days on the 6th day or the Monday after. So is all of this stuff, does it need to be written down somewhere?
Well, it'll be written down in the minutes and in the motion, however you do it.
Okay, got it.
Mary?
And just to clarify that we're talking about the same AB day schedule that we are with the lower grades, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
With the exception, and Diana, I heard what you said earlier. You haven't seen this one-room schoolhouse model, and I have yet to find a high school parent who says, "Oh, wow, what a great plan." Okay, I've yet to find someone who has said that. The hard part is the new CDPH guidance and the new checklist that we have. If you look in there, it asks specifically, how are you going to keep stable cohorts? I don't know how else to do it. When I was on the superintendent's call, the majority of superintendents said, does anybody in CDPH know what it means to work at a high school? Does anybody in the governor's office know what it means to be in a departmentalized setting? We purposely left a 6-period day at the high school level in order to reduce the number of contacts for our teachers. And I know a lot of people say it's not enough, Becky. I get it, which is why we're doing the one-room schoolhouse. Which is why a whole lot of people are not super enthusiastic about this. I'm not sure how else to do this at this point. If we can get our high school to reopen and the guidelines change, I'm happy to meet with FBDTA and we can revisit our model. But for right now, I'm bringing before you what we have, given what we know, given what CDPH and our public health officer has requested. No one likes the idea of high school kids moving to 3 teachers and moving all around campus. They just don't. So for right now, I can only bring to you what they're going to approve for me, recognizing that I have yet to find a person who thinks this is a great idea.
But that's also the red tier plan, correct? So there's an orange tier.
That's the red tier plan.
We have an orange tier and a yellow tier.
I put that into the plan that orange, the kids would go to 2 classes, and then in yellow, they would go to all 3.
So a clarifying question. So if when we move to the red, to the orange, to the yellow, because we will eventually move out of this, the time of school doesn't change for any of the grades, is what I'm seeing.
What do you mean the time? The 9 to 1?
The 9 to noon.
Okay, that's different for the high school because the high school can't do the 9 to noon. They've got it. They have to be able to have all their classes together.
Okay, so the TK through 8, it looks like for the high school you have what happens in red, orange, yellow. For K through 8, you don't. It's just Correct. We're open and it's 9 to noon. So are we assuming that the 9 to noon is going to be for K through 8 until the yellow tier is gone away, or we'll come back maybe later?
So for right now, it's a great question. It's a great question, Scott. So for right now, we have the high school. Let's pretend we go to red tomorrow. Yay, day 1 red. We get to day 6 and we say, okay, high school, we're opening back up on February 22nd. We're going to be doing the high school from at least 9 to 1. Okay, we don't know if we're going to have to work with our staff because we have to figure out how many kids are going to be on campus, but we have to figure out if their homeroom, their virtual learning teams is going to stick. That half-hour class was designed so that teachers could check in with their kids online. So for right now, the high school meets from 9 to 1:30. Will they meet with their virtual learning teams when we're back to in-person instruction? That's something that I need to work out with the high school and figure out if that's going to stay or not, or not. And the reason for that is because if we're sticking the kids in a one-room schoolhouse, do we really want to add on another half hour to that where they're all in the same place? So that's where that's coming from. I don't doubt the value of the virtual learning teams, especially giving the kids the opportunity to talk to each other. So for right now, what I can tell you is that if we move to red, I'll be working with the high school to say, what does that schedule look like? At the bare minimum, it'll be from 9 to 1.
Okay, but I guess I'm asking about K through 8. So
okay, K through 8.
So what you've presented to us looks like a plan, whether we're in deep purple, purple, red, orange, yellow for K through 8.
Not necessarily. What I'm giving you for K8 is really purple and red, because I don't know what the guidance is going to be for orange and yellow for our K8 system. And that's the hard part, because I can only give you a plan that accounts for the working conditions that we have agreed to with our bargaining units, and given the information that we have right now from CDPH. So why can I do, orange and yellow for the high school? Because orange yellow for the high school is easy. You're just adding on one more class. So with the K8, it's a little bit trickier, because do we say we're going to add in more students? Well, the only way you're going to add in more students is if we compensate the social distancing. Make sense? I can't add more kids into the room at K8 if we're going to maintain 6 feet. So that's something we're going to have to look at when we move into orange and yellow. What does that mean? But it also means that we have to look more closely at the guidelines and the guidance about what does that mean. And right now, there's not a whole lot of orange and yellow guidance. There are proposals. Everybody's got a proposal of what orange and yellow looks like. But at this point, I'm not willing to say this is what orange and yellow are going to look like for K8, because we simply don't know. I'm more concerned right now with getting the K8s in. Thank you for approving that. And then allowing us to look at this together as it evolves, coming together and saying, okay, here's the next logical step, given this adjustment and guidance.
So does anyone else have any clarifying questions or concerns?
And you all have great questions. I wish I had better answers for you.
Do you have a public comment, Renee?
No.
No, okay. Thank you. Kathy or Jerry?
Okay, hold on. There is one public comment. It just came in.
There is.
Would you like me to read it? Diana?
Does anyone have any other clarifying questions before the comment? Because that might answer, well, though this is the disadvantage of doing this by email, because technically we should have our clarifying questions done first and then public input, but does anyone have any? Okay, go ahead and do the public comment.
I would like to, this is from Tina Rose. I would like to share that I was able to locate within the CDPH guidelines that the proposed high school class schedule is not to the maximum extent allowable. There is information that on-site students can be placed in cohorts of 20 and can move from class to class with teachers having up to 80 contacts. I would be happy to provide that information. Thank you, Tina Rose.
And I think she's, that was going to be my comment. Page 19 and 20, there's definitely can and may language. And at the very end, California Collaborative has other examples of approaches to create stable groups. So that was my one comment about this plan, because I already said my piece about the actual schedule. Does anyone have any other discussion? If not, then may I have a motion? Okay, Kathy?
I have a question. With that being said, I'm sorry, I haven't read that, but the middle school planned ahead and put their students in a self-contained one room, whatever you want to call it. Is there, I know that the reason for the TK6 was because of the receptors and whatnot. Is there a way for us to break up 7 and 8 because our school was forward thinking and we can't break that. I mean, I know we can't put them in with the preschool, but I mean, as far as our plan, the red, orange, yellow, can 7 and 8 be in one plan because they are already kind of set up to go, and then 9 through 12? Am I asking what I mean?
So
okay.
7 and 12 can return when we're in red. And so they are going to be separated from the high school because they are not departmentalized. The high school is in a different category on its own because they are a departmentalized setting. So 7 and 8 will be back with the middle school when we return, but they can't return until they're in red because of their age.
Right, but if we don't okay.
Am I not explaining? Did I miss something?
No, I think it's it might be getting in the weeds a little bit, but I mean, if back in November we were pushing because of essentially the high school plan, it was really a struggle for families and for kids and all around. So I guess it's kind of a moot point though, but I was trying to figure out if we could put 7 and 8 on the red, on the whatever, they're kind of set to go, but then 9 through 12, when they get to red or when the rules change, because that seems to be a very common thing. That's all I was asking. But I guess that really doesn't matter because this plan could be revised at any time when the rules do change.
So, any other further questions or discussion, or may I have a motion, or is this one just going to linger and no action?
Well, I think I'd like to give the direction that once we're in the red and for 5 days that we open the Monday after that occurs. It seems like we need to give that direction because it's not in the plan that we just approved. So
pending public health approval.
Well, everything, yes. The world is pending public health approval. So yes, that's the motion in better terms that I'd like to make.
Can I just clarify? You really want to put the language of Monday? We don't. I would think, what's the 24 hours? Are we saying 72 hours from the time of approval? I guess what Becky was explaining, that on the 6th day of being in the red, we can open. But
I would ask that you give.
What I'm hearing is that she's recommending that we wait till the Monday after the 6th day. Even if it's a Sunday, I don't know, Becky. You're the one administrating, so I don't.
I would like to have the discretion to choose that Monday, because if we're seeing that it's happening, we can already gear up our families. Okay, if Friday is red, we're going to open on Monday. Listen for an all call, but give me the discretion to be able to pull that off. And if it's too hectic and chaotic, we can wait till the following Monday. But again, if we miss the window, we miss the window. So that's my only concern. All we have to do is open to one grade and the school is officially open. So we could just open to seniors.
Well, and what I'm getting at is that I'd want to open up yesterday. Been waiting and seeing. So I want a language that when as soon as possible, we give you the power to get it open. I mean, people have been waiting, and just like any of the other schools, I don't know what the gear up. I mean, if you want to start on a Thursday, I'm happy about that. I don't really have to have it on a Monday. That's just my opinion. We're deliberating.
So maybe language that as soon as administratively feasible or as determined by the superintendent. Something that gives that flexibility, but also says that, hey, we want this open as soon as we can. But if there's something comes up, like Becky, if it's right before a break, I don't know. I mean, who knows what can come up. But giving her that leeway with the understanding that the motion is, we want to open as soon as we can. So I don't know if there's better language someone can come up with. Okay, so I will try. Hold on. So the item is reopening timelines for grades 7 through 12. So I would like to make a motion to reopen grades 7 through 12 when Mendocino County achieves red tier status. And just like the language says, and allow Superintendent Walker the ability to open these grades in a timely manner.
Pending.
Of course.
I'll second that, Scott.
All right. Roll call. Trustee Mattson?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Makala?
Yes.
President Paoli?
Yes.
Motion carries.
So the other thing, when and if we open, whenever, because we're still tracking our documents and trying to get it all in order. I don't know what the board thinks, but I would like to have this on the calendar every month, even if we are open, to find out what the new guidelines are, if there is, just to keep updated, because it is rapidly changing. And if something's not working, it's an opportunity for the public to come to us. Otherwise, if we take this off our agendas from now until the end of the year, I don't want to see that.
I agree. That's a good idea.
So we'll continue to have this on action at every regular school board meeting until all of our schools are fully open.
Well, and somehow I guess we'd have to recreate the language of what would be on, but even when we are in session, this very soft opening, I still think it should be on the agenda somewhere.
And the key word there was fully. If we don't have kids back 5 days a week, all coming at the same time, then this needs to be on our action in perpetuity until we hit that day.
Anyone object to that? Okay, looks like everyone's good. So the next item is 4.4, and this led from a discussion that we had at our board retreat on January 23rd. And the item is consider approval of the proposed state and county advocacy letter. And we, on our self-evaluation, always need improvement in the advocacy and development of communication with state leaders, or what does that mean to our board? And that's always where we score low. And so we were brainstorming and decided to have a subcommittee, and Mary and I decided that we would be on that subcommittee to find out, what we can do, because this has been a very difficult process. This is my 5th year on the school board, and it's an issue that's it's been very hard because we're really the oversight. We can't talk about, the nitty gritties, and we all either have a child or a grandchild in the district. And so we're used to being able to voice our opinion completely, and we're not able to do that as board members. So I just want to give you the background on that. And also that we have a board bylaw that's 9200 that we reviewed, and it shows that the board is the unity of authority over the district, and that a board member has no individual authority. The board members shall hold the education of students above any partisan, principal, group interest, or personal interest. So individual board members shall submit requests. So if we do get something from the public, we're supposed to, the protocol is to request the information, go to the superintendent, and then board members shall refer board-related correspondence to the superintendent for forwarding to the board for placement on the board's agenda as appropriate. So we started this conversation in our self-evaluation meeting and decided that we wanted to see if this is a kind of a strange way to bridge our communication, but the issues that we were feeling for our students and watching, how education has been delivered, which has been so difficult, and, to support, students and staff, because really they've had to, education model used to be rocking chairs, and now we're expecting overnight, these rocket ships. So stating that Mary and I, we had a couple of meetings and had two different versions of a letter, and we merged it. So I just want to open it to the board because the other board members had no collaboration with this and haven't seen this since the packet was released. So I wanted to know if this is a letter that needed revisions, if we're not ready to submit something like this, if maybe the addressee isn't proper. And I wanted to either change the 5th paragraph to either be fall, because reading the plans, I realized that the two dates of the internet rooms and the cohort learning are two different dates, one's August and one's September. And I also wanted to be able to CC our MCOE superintendent. I didn't have her on the CC, but I'm going to open it up for discussion. Scott?
Thank you. Sorry, clicking the wrong mouse. So first of all, thank you for putting this letter together. I know it took a lot of work and a lot of effort. It's really good. I'm fully in support of it. My only recommendation is your final and closing paragraph is great. And I would repeat that to some degree at the very beginning. So when whoever ends up reading this letter knows from the start what we're asking. That's my only suggestion, but it's a great letter. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have any revisions or objections to any information that's in this letter? And it's difficult during this time as, and I could probably, do you want me to read it out loud? Anyone?
Sure. Good idea.
So we have it addressed to Governor Newsom and potentially CCing. This is why this process has been so slow, because there's so many cooks in the kitchen, I'll say. CCing our superintendent at Mendocino County Office of Education, Andy Corin, our health officer, school liaison, Lisa Fredrickson, Dan Jurdy, the county chair of Board of Supervisors, Dr. Erica Pon, California State epidemiologist, Dr. Mark Ghali, Secretary, California Health and Human Services Agency, Dr. Naomi Bardash, Safe Schools for All, Ben Cheetah, who's the Deputy Cabinet Secretary of Governor Newsom, and then there's two Education Committee, the Senate Chair and the Assembly Education Chair, State Senator Mike Thompson, Assembly Member Jim Wood, Brooks Allen, Executive Director, California State Board of Education, Tony Thurman, State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Dr. Linda Darling Hammond, President of the State Board of Education, and then Dennis Myers, who's the Assistant Executive Director, Governmental Relations, CSBA, which is California School Boards Association, and Laurel Green, who's our rep for the PACER. And quickly stating the letter, we are writing to you about our deep concern for the public school students of Fort Bragg, County of Mendocino. Like most students in California, our children have been out of this classroom since March 2020. We have serious concerns about the mental health and other adverse childhood experiences our students are dealing with daily. We agree distant learning should still be an option for medically fragile staff and students, but in-person should be a choice as well. Equity in education has always been an issue, and we are seeing it now more than ever. While many private schools have been holding in-person classes for months now, we are in the public sector are being held to a different standard and often with far fewer resources. Fort Bragg has a very high rate of low socioeconomic students, 79%, and a large number of English language learners. Many of these students, in addition to dealing with trying to learn on a computer from home, have been experiencing internet difficulties, food insecurity, and even housing insecurity. There have been numerous studies to verify when there are strict COVID-19 protocols in place, viral spread is low. Dr. Jean Noble, a physician who directs the COVID-19 response for the UCSF Emergency Department, states, data from schools open in Marin County, 40,000 students and 5,000 students, and in North Carolina shows schools can be operated safely for all students and kept safe for adults. By February 12, 2021, over 75% of Fort Bragg Unified staff will be fully vaccinated against COVID-19. We request a more direct eye to specific zip codes and case rates. The Mendocino Coast, which is far removed from the inland portion of the county, has experienced a lower average case rate than inland Mendocino County, and yet we are viewed as a whole. If separated out, the coast would likely reach the red tier sooner than inland Mendocino County. Since the fall, Fort Bragg Unified has operated daily K-12 internet rooms and small cohort learning pods with zero COVID-19 transmission. Operating daily K-12 internet rooms and cohort learning pods should meet the state's definition of open campus. Value Mendocino County's Ethic Committee prioritizing and protecting Fort Bragg Unified with over 75% of staff fully vaccinated by February 12th. Honor Fort Bragg Unified's success with zero COVID-19 transmissions in the K-12 internet rooms and small cohort learning pods. Evaluate Fort Bragg's low case rates and rural population. In closing, please advocate for Fort Bragg Unified to be held harmless from Mendocino County's higher case rates, which are delaying students, including grades 7 to 12, from having the option in-person learning this school year. So I will make that revision with adding the language at the front of the letter in the closing. And I think during COVID, we probably won't. I mean, do we want to sign this? I think everyone's just emailing everything. I'm used to snail mail because I work at a law office, but any suggestions on that?
Well, there is, I know you can insert, each one of us could take the picture of our signature if you did want. I do think it would look nice if we could, without too much trouble, figure out how to do that electronically so that they're there.
Or is it an option to have Renee print it out and we just go to the window? What's easier for everyone? Is it digital better? Renee?
Whatever the board would prefer, we could do it either way. And it would look the way you're hoping it will.
Will it be with everyone's schedule? Because I'd like to get it sent off sooner than later, but I don't know everyone's work schedules.
Don't we have a verification of signatures on file with the district office right now? Could you do that electronically? I don't have a problem. I could go by there tomorrow and sign it if you wanted it.
Yeah, I could go by too and sign it.
Me too.
I would feel more comfortable with your wet signature than us trying to take an electronic signature from something.
Okay, so today is Monday, right? No, yeah. Oh my God, it's been a very long day. I apologize. So I could definitely, is there a particular time? I probably want to make the revision, then Renee can just print it out. So as a noon time, is that good for everyone? Or do you need it earlier?
So Diana, if you get Renee the copy, then we can put it on letterhead and then have signature lines inserted. So if everybody can just agree, what's a good time for folks? Afternoon tomorrow? Whether you do afternoon tomorrow or Wednesday morning, it's all going to end the same because we're not going to get it out in the mail tomorrow by noon. So
I would prefer to do morning on my way to work. So, but I can do it Wednesday morning after everything's done.
So work is what time? 8 a.m. or 9?
I'm yes. Whatever time you tell. Whatever time
I'll make the edits as soon as we're offline.
No, not tomorrow. Not tomorrow. I need to go to the saw shop in the morning tomorrow.
No, she can. So, we'll have it ready for you
Wednesday's
Wednesday morning.
Great. Yeah.
But if
Diana, if you get it to Renee, then we'll have it ready for everybody tomorrow after 3:00. Let's just say that. You get it to Renee by 1 or 2 o'clock, and Renee and I will make sure that it's ready for everybody by 3 p.m. and that'll take care of Kathy Wednesday morning.
And if you wouldn't mind emailing it when it's ready, if it's ready earlier, that'd be great.
So Diana, do you want an official motion that we're all approving, or just our signature is going to be the approval?
I think we should take a motion. So may I have a motion for 4.4?
I'll move that we approve item 4.4, the advocacy letter.
And I'll second. with another thank you for your hard work.
And roll call, Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
Trustee Schneider,
Yes.
Trustee Makla,
Yes.
Trustee Mattson,
Yes.
and President Paoli.
Yes.
And the motion carries.
So that concludes the action items on the special meeting. And I guess, is there any public comments that we missed?
There are
Before
no
we-
additional public comments.
So we do have another regular meeting on Thursday. We're going to remind folks about that. And is there a motion to adjourn? Unless there's any other. Yeah.
I'll second.
So moved. Thank you everyone for your time, and we'll see you Thursday.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nate.
Thank you.